Okay, so what I want to do is to add some details to this in this second part. So we're going to add some details, we're going to assign some material zones, make some decisions about how we're going to texture this, and then we'll UV it to make sure the UVs are nice. Okay, so first of all I want to split the roof off. So what I'm going to do is select these top polygons, select those two, and then we'll use Control Plus to expand that out. And I just want to expand that out until I get underneath, and that looks perfect. And then we can detach this from the rest of the model. Now that's going to help us with our beveling, because the more it's joined to other things, the more the bevels affect other things. The more the bevels affect other things, the more geometry you get, and the more complications you get. So let's do that first. So I'm going to go to Mesh and Split by selection. And now when I select that piece, if I press Alt or Control and L rather, it's only going to select the roof. So if I Shift H, we can work on the roof in isolation, which is nice. Okay, so one of the first things I want to do is do some beveling on this, and it will help to do it now before I get more detail into it. So let's do that, and I think I want to bevel almost every edge except for this one down the end here. So let's convert that to edges, and then if I press Shift Alt and click there, that should do the job. Now we don't have that one selected. We also don't want this one selected down the middle. I don't want that to bevel either, but everything else I'm pretty sure is fine. So Control and B and click in. We'll give it 5mm. To remember that I've broken my 5 key on the keyboard while I was cleaning it, don't know how, and press enter. And I think one might be too low, so let's make it 2. Whoops. Oh, I've broken the 2 key as well. Oh, bit of a sneeze there, sorry about that. Okay, so now I've done that, we can add a little bit of detail in here. And I want to go to face mode, and I'm just going to select this main one on the outside of the roof and press the I key to inset. I'm just going to bring that in a little bit, and then we'll use the extrude along normals, so there, and we'll poke that in a little bit, not too far, just far enough to make a difference. Okay, so if I try and select these edges by individually clicking them or alt clicking them, it's not going to work. So just to make life easy, I'll just switch over to edge mode and then press Control B and put a little bevel in, so 5mm. Can't see that that's done anything. Should have done something. Oh, it's hasn't done anything because my key doesn't work anymore. I'm going to have to remember that. Damn it, I'm going to have to buy a new keyboard. There we go, 5mm. So back over to selection mode. I'm just going to alt click on that one around the outside there, and then we'll bevel that as well. So Control B, click in, 5mm. There we go. So now we've got a roof and we've separated it out, but the main thing I'm looking for is to have areas to texture. So this big flat area in the middle, we'll texture with tiles, because the tile material can map under, and merge into the frame, which will create as wood, and that's going to help. so we don't have any exposed ends, so we don't have tiles sort of going around corners and wrapping underneath in a strange way. So just isolating it. And because I know I'm going to call that make a zone for that one, we'll go down to materials now, we'll add a new zone and then call it tiles, or roof tiles, just in case we have any tiles elsewhere, and then assign it to that that polygon. Let's give it a colour so we know what it's done, or in this case a grey. And then I want to select an invert and then press M, sorry not M, I'm in Modo again. We'll create a new material, click new, and this one is going to be kind of a wood frame which will share space with other bits of wood on the model. So let's give that a slightly less grey and assign to the selected polygons. There we go. Okay, so Alt H to unhide, and that's put a little bit of detail up there, nothing too much. And now I'm going to come down to the next area. Okay, so we'll do that in the next little section. Okay, so coming down the building to the next level, I'm just going to select these areas here, these pieces that are going to be kind of flat board, and we'll give them a material zone. So let's pull this down because I'm probably going to end up with a few here. So I'll add a new one and we'll call this one boards, and then we'll assign those to it. There we go. Let's give it a colour. Let's go darker again. There we go. And we now have a whole bunch of materials on the material, just the material called material, and we've got a whole bunch that we've assigned. So I'm just going to select material and click select, and then Shift and H to hide everything else. And now I can see what I've got. So these ones under here, if I don't get rid of them, which I probably will, which I might rather, should be on the board's texture. So let's select that one, and then I can press H to hide those. And underneath here, whoops, I think, and underneath here, I might put those on boards just for now. So let's assign those and hide them. So everything up here, whoops, that's, you probably can't see that, thankfully, should be, yeah, everything up there should be on, let's go X-ray mode, sorry, should be on the wood frame. So let's select all those as well. Yeah. Let's just do a quick Control L. Just to make sure I've got everything selected. So we'll put those on the wood frame and hide those. And I've got a little bit there kind of floating about. I think that should be on the wood frame as well. So let's assign that and hide it. It's just something I managed not to select. This door, I believe we're going to want that on the wood frame. So Control L for that bit and Control L for that bit. There we go. We'll add that to wood frame and assign and hide. These bottom ones, let's come out of X-ray mode because that's annoying. Let's select these and Control L to select everything attached to them. They will go to wood frame. I'll hide those. These under here I'm going to put all on stone, not those bits, not the actual log itself. So Control L. So now I want a new texture. This one we'll call stone. And let's give it another colour. an even darker grey this time, and assign and hide. And these ones, I'm going to create a special wood for these ones, I think. So it's Control L, and we'll just call it wood. So I'll have one more, new, and whoops, that wood. Whoops, not wood. There we go. So let's unhide everything with an Alt H. Now I've, you know, roughly divided it up. You know, we've got our logs anyway, and you know, we already know that they are assigned. So let's just give those a little grey there. Let's make the wood frame a little darker, just to, you know, just to make it absolutely certain. And we've got our other bit in here, which is, what's that? So it's Control L and Shift H. Looks like I didn't actually manage to assign these bottom ones. So this would be boards and assign. There we go. So it's Alt H. Whoops, that was Control H, Alt H. Okay, so I just wanted to get it basically, you know, roughly assigned to different things. Depending upon when we unwrap it, I may make different decisions. I may decide that, you know, I've got too much on one to get good resolution out of a map, so I might split it. But for now, you know, happy enough. Okay. So, in terms of details and such, like I want some struts in here. So when we come back in, I'm going to put some kind of roof supports and some floor supports underneath here, and that will add us a little bit of extra nice detail. So I'll talk to you. Okay, so let's pop some supports in here. So I'll go to add and cube. Let's get into a view. I'm going to put them on the front first because it's easier. So let's move it. So G and Z. I'm going to move it up to somewhere around there. Yeah, just G and Y. I'll move it forward so I can see it. Just going to poke it in a little bit. Whoops. Don't know what happened there. Oh, so I've gone into scale mode accidentally. So G and Y, let's move it forward, and G and X, move it to the side. We're getting into our joyous modifier issues here, so let's turn off the preview and turn off clipping. So G and X, let's move it over, and I just want to move it down a little bit, I think. Oops, G and Z. Now we can just shape it a little bit. So I'll do this because I've got it roughly where I want it. I don't, you know, don't want to adjust it too much. So we'll move the bottom polygon up, G and Z, just to a suitable kind of depth, and then we'll do G and X on this side one, just to make it a good shape and size. Let's bring it down a bit. So I'll select one polygon and then press Control L. And then G and Z, I'm just going to bring it down ever so slightly, just so it's underneath that board there. Okay, so for these, I'm going to vary the length of them. So, you know, this is probably going to be as absolutely long as it gets. So let's move this end one inwards a little bit. So that'll be G and Y. Just move it to the edge. And now basically, there's not an awful lot to it. I can delete the inner polygon, because nobody's ever going to see that. Whoops, sorry, I did deleting edges and I meant deleting faces. And then going to select the front polygon, select edge, Control and plus to select the other edges but not the back. Yep, and then we'll do a bevel. So Control and B, whoops, that's M. Let's try that again, Control and B, and we'll give it a nice, perhaps 5mm bevel. Perhaps even more than that. I want them to look a bit worn. Let's try 10mm, give it, you know, some real kind of character. Okay, so because this is essentially you know, just a beam, and I'm going to copy it a lot, I want to UV it now because I don't want to do it, you know, every single one. So let's do that. So I'm going to select the top one, Control L to select the rest of it, and then Shift H to hide everything else. And for this one, I'm going to slice off most of the end. So let's slice there, and I'll slice this one there, and right click and mark seams. But then I don't actually want this end to come off of it, so I'm going to select this top one, right click and clear seam. So it's going to be one island essentially. It will unwrap, but just be one island. Okay, let's just do a quick unwrap of it to make sure. So A, right click, unwrap. There we go. So we've got one island, it's the whole thing, and the cap is attached to it. And you know, which of these you choose is, you know, entirely up to you. I've chosen the top one. You could easily choose the bottom one, you know, with the mind that people are going to see it from this end onwards, and that will hide that seam there. You know, I've chosen the top just in this case because you know, I'm thinking of doing a downward kind of look at it, and that way I'll hide that seam, you know, because there isn't one. Okay, so let's Alt H, unhide everything else. Now it's just a question of duplicating this and assigning it to the right material. So let's go back to the modelling room. I'll select there, Control L. I'm going to put this on the just base wood material along with these planks and things down here. So let's assign that one, and then we just go about duplicating it. So perhaps I want 2 on this side. I'm going to move this one over, so G and X, and then Shift D, move around, right click to drop it where you want it, G and X, and I'll move it over here, and then G and Y, and I'm going to move it inwards so that it's not exact. Now I'll select this as the original one again, Control and L, and then Shift D, move it around, whoops, that was Control D, so Shift D, move it around, right click, and this time I want to rotate it around Z, and I want to rotate it -90 degrees, and then we'll move it into place. So G and X to start with, somewhere about there, and then G and Y to put it down the side. Now, how many I put down here, you know, it's largely arbitrary. You could put as many as you like, but it's now going to be a question of Shift D, move, right click to drop, G and Y, and then move it down. So Shift D, right click to drop, G, Y, move down. And I'm not going to make them even. I'm going to make them deliberately, you know, a bit more homespun than that. So let's just do that. So Shift D, G, Y, Shift D, right click, G, Y, and one more perhaps, Shift D, right click, G, Y. And then we could use G and X on each of these to position them differently. So let's select that one with Control L, G and X. Control L, G and X. Control, whoops, I didn't select anything. So select a bit of it first. Control L, G and X. There we go. Now I also want to have it under these eaves. I think that's what they're called, eaves. So I'm going to select a bit on each of these. I'm in edge mode, that's probably why I'm having trouble selecting things. So I'll just select a bit on each and then Control and L. I'm going to move these outwards first, so G and X, just move it to there, and G and Z, whoops, I said Z, well I didn't, I pressed X instead. So G and Z, let's bring that down. I just want it underneath where this top piece is here, so G, Z, and pop it there. Right, that needs to come out a bit, so G and X, and now I can move them around. So this one I want to move further away, so G and Y, G and X to tuck it a little bit better under, so Control L, G and X to move it a little bit under, and G and Y to make sure it's not in the same position as the other one. Just G and Y for that one. G and X to move it in. Let's move this one in as well. G and X. Perhaps I will move it a little bit. And then this one, let's Control L on that one. I'm going to move this to the front. So G and Y, G and X. There we go. So now we've got some supports, and I've managed not to duplicate them. Oh my goodness, John, you're having a moment today, aren't you? So I'll reduplicate those between videos because you don't want to watch me do things over and over and over again. So yeah, there we go. So what will we do next? I think I want to do something with the bottom underneath here, so we'll do something underneath here first. I've got a step to add in here, something that you can walk on between these planks and the door. So yes, I'll do that between that, and then we'll come back and have a look at that. So I'll talk to you. Okay, so I've kind of decided that either the building is too high or this is too low, and I think actually other way around, the building's too low or this is too high, and I think this is too high is winning. So I'm going to grab these pieces and do G and Z and move those down to a slightly lower area, and to facilitate that, because this side is kind of higher and this is still low, I'm going to bend these boards. So let's cut these boards just once to start with. So I'll cut, and I'm going to move it a little bit to this side, and the same with this one, and then I'm going to alt click on there to select a loop. Need to be in poly mode first. So there and there. Whoops, shift click, there we go. And then I'm going to move this down. So G and Z. Let's take that down a little bit. Now we're getting about right. So G and Z a little bit more. And then I'm going to just put a little bevel in here to smooth these boards out. So alt click there, shift alt click there, Control and B to bevel, and then I'll draw that out. Doesn't have to be super smooth. I just want there to be enough there for it to be kind of believable. There we go, somewhat along those lines. So that's brought that down much lower, which is good. That's what I want. So I've also got a kind of an issue here in that this is obscuring my door. So I'm going to select this, and actually I'm going to delete it because you can't see it anywhere, or you shouldn't be able to. So let's delete that, and that leaves me with this open gap under the door, and I can pop a little kind of block in there to sort that out. So let me create a new cube. Let's pop that there. I can move that to the front, so G and Y, move it up, G and Z, somewhere about there I think. Can move it just to one side a bit, so G and X, and then we can move the actual cube itself to fit into place. So G and Y, whoops, that's a T. It's going to let it go a little bit further back than it perhaps looks like it wants to. Let's take this top up, so G and Z. Need that to kind of kiss the bottom of the door. Bring this out, so G and Y. And then let's bring this one up, G and Z. Whoops, somewhere about there I think. So this end here wants to be on the 0 point, so we'll go up to our end menu up here and set that to 0, and then I'll delete it because I don't need that face. So that gives me that kind of front stair kind of area. So these could move forward a bit, so Control L, G and Y, let's move these forward, and yeah, should be good. Don't need this back piece, let's get rid of that, delete faces, and then I want to bevel some edges. So I want to, whoops, come in, I want to bevel this bit and this bit, but the edges of course, so I've got polygon selected, I'll switch into edge mode, Control B, click in, and let's give it a nice worn 15mm. That should be good. Okay, while I'm here I might as well define some seams on it, so Alt click there, and I'll Alt click on that one there, and that should do the job. So right click, mark seam. This one I want to unmark because I want it to be one island, so select that one, right click, clear seam. So when I unwrap that, you know, the bottom will come off, but you know, this will be nice and smooth and won't be a seam, and you know, won't be picked up very readily by the eye. Okay, I need to give it a material, so let's click on one and Control L, and this one I'll apply to the wood material. There we go. Okay, so if you want to put some additional detail in, feel free. I'm going to just have a look and perhaps move this backwards a little bit. So G, whoops, that's H, G and Y, let's push that backwards. There we go. That's just hiding those gaps there. There we go. Let's have a look around. And I've created a gap where I didn't have one before. So I'm going to select this bottom log and Shift D, right click to drop it down. Whoops. Control L. Make sure I'm on normal so it selects everything. And then Shift D, right click to drop, G and Z, and I'll drop that down somewhere about there, just to fill in that gap. There we go. It's lovely. Okay, so you could put more detail into the bottom if you like, more supports, more kind of boards, but I'm going to leave it plain. Okay, let's turn the modifier back on again so we can see what we're looking at, and that's what we've got. So next what I'll do is I'm going to collapse this modifier, and then I'm going to make some adjustments left to right and front to back to take out some of the symmetry, especially on these beams that we put in earlier, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I'll talk to you then. Okay, I mean this bit's a little bit optional, I guess. Well, the second part of this. First of all, I just want to come out of edit mode and go into object mode with the tab key, and then under the modifier, in the modifier's properties, I want to apply my modifier. There we go. So now I have one model instead of half a model. So that puts me in a position to be able to UV reasonably well, but also gives me the chance to make one side look different to the other. So we'll press tab to go back into edit mode. Going to select one of these and move it backwards, so G and Y. There we go. And similarly over here, I just want to make some differences. How many differences you decide to make is entirely up to you, if any. But you know, I don't want them to be identical. I want them to, you know, have slightly different aspects on one side to the other. Because if you use this building, you know, twice, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 100 times, you know, if they're all in the same direction, maybe that's okay. But you know, you might turn them around. You know, you want to see some differences. That's what I'm trying to say. What are we doing here? So we've got that one, G and X. Let's pop that in. Let's just do this one. Control L, G and X. Let's bring it out just for fun. Okay, so have a look around your model. See how happy you are with it. I'm going to offset one of these actually. I'll just do just a tiny offset so that they're not lined up perfectly. Yep, that's good enough. Let's make these ends or these logs not the same length. So I'm going to grab the back of this one. Whoops, if I can. Might have to go to X-ray mode for that. There we go. I'm going to move that forward with G and Y. And perhaps I'll select the front of this one very carefully. G and Y, and I'll move that forward as well. There we go. So yeah, just trying to introduce some differences. You know, symmetry is all very well and good, but it breaks the magic. You know, if everything is identical on one side and the other, you know, it looks like you've modelled it like that. And you know, it breaks the kind of reality bounds. We can even move some of these if we like. So let's move that one. Let's move it backwards a little bit. Might even move it in a little bit. You know, small amounts, nothing too much, just enough for it not to be perfect. Let's do this one. Just move it in ever so slightly. There we go. Okay. Right, so next then we're going to go on to the UV mapping bit. I know, I hear the groans. I don't like it any more than you do. And as we're doing that, we may make some decisions about modelling. We may add some bits of model to hide seams, and we may change, you know, which material they're on. Each material we're going to have to make a judgment. Am I going to get enough detail out of this? And it may even drive, you know, how we think about whether we use UDIMs or not. Okay, so let's do that in the next one. Talk to you. Okay, so we've got all our materials pretty much outlined here, so we can move on to doing some UVing. So I'm going to do it a material group at a time. So let's select the logs. So I'll select the logs material here. Well, actually what I'm going to do first is select this material and then select anything. And oh, I've got one thing on it by the looks of it. Actually no, I think I had that selected already. So let's select that and do a G and a Z and just move it up. Oh, something's on it. It's under there. Okay, so we need to put that on something. So what should we put that on? Well, this one should be on wood already. So Control L and assign that to wood. And I think I could probably assign the rest of it to wood as well. Yes. So select. No, yes, and then select wood and assign. Let's do that again. Select wood, assign. There we go. I want to make sure there's nothing on this one before I start. So let's do a G and a Z, just see if it goes anywhere. and it does not. I've got my fingers mixed up again. Okay, so I can remove that material now. I need to do that in object mode. So I'm just going to object mode and delete that one. There we go. Back into edit mode again with tab. And now I'll just go from top down, I guess. So let's select all the logs. There we go. And I'll shift H. That's what I've got. Modelling looks pretty kind of neat and efficient. Let's go and have a look at the UV. That's what it looks like. I'm going to use U to unwrap, and then we'll pack it. So UV and pack islands. So each of my logs is going to, you know, be quite small on the map, and you know, it might be here that you might split it into two. I'm going to leave it for one because I think I can probably just about get away with it if I use a big enough map. Okay, so unhide everything. So Alt H. I'm just going to reselect the logs. Actually, no, I don't need to really. I'll just select the roof tile to make sure you've got nothing selected first, of course. That's my roof tile. If I U and unwrap, that's what I get. Seems to be joined together, which is highly unlikely. So let me press A on this side and unwrap. Yep. I think that would probably be okay on one map on its own. Just about good enough, I think. Let's go to the unwrap options and change that to conformal. Really confused as to why that's doing that. Let me try and move one island away. G and Z. Oops, I need to select it first. In poly mode, obviously. G and Z. Yeah, no, they're separate. That's okay. Right, so that's that one. But I do want there to be seams on this, so I'm going to select all of them and then go to UV and seam from islands. You'll see that appears in red on the in the 3D view there. I want to have seams because, you know, having seams seems to make a difference. So if I unwrap again, yeah, no, it's fine. They're both going in the same direction. That's good. So that's that bit done. So now wood frame. This is, I suspect, going to be my problematic one because we've got quite a lot on it. So let's shift an H and press A over here, and I'm just going to do a basic unwrap first. So type U and unwrap, and we can see, you know, what's been basically what's been what's got seams on and what hasn't. Let's pack this. So UV and pack just to set it out, and then we'll start to do it. So these up here, they're all good. This is obviously not. That. These are good. That's not. So these innards here, I need to kind of unwrap those on their own. It's going to take me a moment just to select them. There we go, something like that. I'm not very good at selecting, you may have guessed. Well, perhaps I can do that. Yes, I can. That's excellent. Let's do that again. So if I press A over this side and then unwrap, they should unwrap nicely. Okay, so I'm going to go over this side and hide them because I've done those bits. These I believe are okay, and this is okay because I've unwrapped that. So let's do Control L and this one, Control L, oh, and this one, Control L. So I'll just hide those as well. I know they're pretty good. Right, okay, now you can start to see what's not, you know, quite right. So let's do some seams. So I'm going to do this block down here. So I've got Alt L down and now Shift Alt to select each of those corners. can mark those as seams. The roof is going to be a bit of a pest, I know it is, so we'll get to that in a moment or two. Right, I need to slice these ends off, so Alt, then Shift Alt, Alt and Shift Alt rather, or Shift Alt, Shift Alt, Shift Alt, Shift Alt. It's the worst thing about UVing, defining the seams. So let's mark those, and I'm going to mark one on each side, one on each side of the each inner side rather. I'll get my words right in a moment. And then 2 for the front and back, because I've got a split down the middle at the moment, and we'll mark those. There we go. So now I can select those. If I just select one on each and Control L, and then A over in the 2D view, U, and unwrap, and that looks okay. So I'll hide those in the 3D view because I know they're done. These I think will probably unwrap quite happily. Let's have a look. Yep, they're fine, so I'll hide those. This door, which I'm probably going to consider putting some detail on, but I'm not sure just yet. These ones I'll select and then unwrap, and then we'll mark a seam with them. So seams from islands, and you'll see the red line comes in then. So let's hide that bit. Oops, I didn't mean to hide it on that side, I meant to hide it in the 3D side. There we go. This one's a bit of an annoying one, so I might leave that. Did we unwrap this bit? No, I don't think we did. So let's Control L to select it all, and then A and unwrap. There we go, that's good. We'll hide it in the 3D view, and we're getting less and less now. Okay, that's separate to the roof. So if I go in underneath, I can do the same as I did below. So just mark each edge, each corner rather. So I'm just selecting with Shift Alt, and then right click and mark as seam. Oops, let's come away from that. Select, Control L, A in the 2D view, right click and unwrap, and then hide those. Whoops, again in the 3D view. So I'm getting left with the roof and these here, and I wonder if this will unwrap, or it's going to cause me grief. It's going to cause me grief. Of course it's going to cause me grief. Control L to make sure I've got everything on that, and then A and unwrap. Yeah, it's a bit 50-50 that one. It's all a bit squirrely because of these inner pieces, so I might just have to cut those out. Okay, so if I select around here, so Alt, and then Shift Alt, and then Shift Alt, I can mark those as seams. Then I just need to mark one on the inner to allow those to unwrap. Not that one, that one. I've got a bit of a weird thing going on here. Might go around this side. Yeah, something's not quite right there. I don't know what it is. Okay, let's mark those as seams, and then these corners. Actually, I think, or I know, that these are never going to be seen, so I can simply delete them. Faces, there we go. So let's select that whole thing there, right click and unwrap it, and that's much neater. We've got some kinks in the main piece, but nothing that I can't deal with. Yeah, it's this thing here, this little point. For some reason I managed to push it upwards, so G and Z. I'll just bring it down again. The rest of it is still a little bit weird, but I think I can cope. Okay, so let's select that piece, Control L to make sure I've got everything, and hide it. Yeah, this one, because of the curve, it's causing me a little bit of a problem. But the first thing I want to do with this is flatten out the outside. So I'm going to select across the top and these sides, and then press S and Z, and I'm going to flatten it. Whoops. And just put 0 into the X value, and then I'm going to move it upwards, so it'll be G and Z. There we go. That's going to fill in a hole for me. So let's now mark under here with Alt, then right click, mark that seam. That's going to, yeah, that's going to unwrap. Okay, so let's select a piece, Control and L, press A in the UV view and unwrap it. There we go. Now we can hide that, and we've left our horrid bit till last. So I'm going to go to edge mode, and then I'm going to cut each corner off. So first of all, alt click on the corner, and of course some geometry shenanigans is stopping me doing that. So let's do it in this direction first. There we go. And then shift alt click on there. No, that's stopping me as well. Yeah, I've done something wrong. Not entirely sure what I've done wrong, which is always a worry. Okay, well let's do the easy cut. Right down the middle, right click and mark as seam. And I'll press A, and unwrap, and we'll see what we get. Nothing good. So what have we got? It's always a problem, you know, when you've done something and then you're not entirely sure what you've done. Let's see if I can cut there. No, that's because this edge is essentially, you know, not flowing through nicely. But you know, we'll get there. Let's do it the other way. So first of all, I'm going to select those polygons in that direction and those polygons in that direction, and we'll do the same on the other side. No, it doesn't want to select. Let's do that one then, and that one, and then over in the 2D view, U and unwrap. Well, they should unwrap reasonably nicely. They look a little bit out of sorts, but nothing too bad. So we can hide those in our view over here, and then we'll press A and unwrap those ones. Now these things here are a bit of an issue, and I actually find I don't want this line down the middle, so I'm going to clear that seam. Let's press A and unwrap again. There we go. Yeah, I think it will do just for now. So let's unhide the rest of it. So Alt H in the 3D view. I'll select the wood frame again. So select, Shift H again, press A over in this side, right click and unwrap. Sorry. Select everything. I hadn't defined my seams previously, you see. Let me go backwards a little bit. There we go. So I haven't got any seams around there. So first of all, go to UV and mark seam. Let's unhide everything. Sorry, I'm going nuts. Obviously, UV seams from islands, John. That's what you wanted. So let's unhide everything. So Alt H, click off, select the wood, Shift H, A, select everything, and we want to pack it now. And there we have it. So all of these are a bit kind of, yeah, different, if you like, in terms of their scale. So we'll do an average scale by island, and then we'll repack. So pack islands. They seem to have some additional things in here now. Probably my fault. So let me just make sure. I'm going to select my roof tile because I think that's what's been added. And let's hide those. Actually, just make sure that they are on the roof tile. Let's hide those. Reselect our wood frame. And then right click. Whoops, not unwrap. Right, not even right click. Let's just repack those to see what we get. Need to select them first, of course. Foolish man. There we go. So the question you'll be asking yourself is that going to be enough? And that's, you know, going to be on a model by model basis. I think it probably will be enough if I have a big enough, you know, a big enough texture to cover it. I might want to add some additional gap to it. Not entirely sure yet, but yeah. If again you might decide to split it into two, in which case 2 zones, or you might decide to split it across UDIMs. You know, it's entirely going to be down to the application that's going to be using it. In this case, I'm going to leave it as it is, and when it goes on to the texturer, they can make that decision. But I want it to be unwrapped, and I want it to be, you know, nicely unwrapped and organised as much as possible, so that when it gets to the texture artist, they don't have to do that. Okay, so that's that bit. So we've done a couple, we've got a few more to do, and we'll do that in different sections. Okay, so let's crack on with this. So I'm going to unhide everything, so Alt H and then deselect everything, and then select my next one, which is the boards. I'm going to click select and then Shift H, and then we'll mark some seams. So one at each corner. And then on the back, and I've deleted it from the front, so we won't need things there. So right click and mark seam, select everything in the UV view, right click and unwrap. Now it's really important these are all pointing in the same direction, so they all need to be left to right, I think is a good one. So let's pack these and see what's going on. So it's packed them vertically, so I'm just going to rotate them with the R key. Let's rotate round, press the control key so it snaps, and there we go. Now it also helps that they're pointing kind of left to right and up and down in the same direction. I can see these aren't, so I'm going to rotate this one around. Whoops, control, there we go. And now it's a question of finding out whether each of these is also pointing. It's a little bit more difficult because obviously the how can I put it, they're all square. So let's select everything again, stop messing about, and I want to just make sure that they're all you know, vertical, and I've got no features to look at. So what I'm going to do is put a slice in quickly towards the top and towards the top there, and now I can select the, whoops, come out of that mode, select the top one, and I believe that will be the top. So if I now select A I can see that that is the top of one. I can also see this one is upside down just by looking at it, and these ones are upside down. So let's do that. I want the thin narrow board at the top, so I'll Control L on that island and rotate it 90 degrees. Well, 180 degrees rather. Similarly for this one. So Control L, rotate, it's the R key, 180 degrees. This one I think looks alright. Yes. But these two don't look right. So Control L, rotate, 180. There we go. Now these are all a bit too close together, so I'm just going to press A and pack. Turn off rotate, otherwise you undo all your work. And I'm just going to increase this to say 0.01 just to give it a little border between to avoid bleed overs. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Again, you know, these are not necessarily you know, good, because I'm not really making the most of my space. My long islands are causing me an issue, and this is what I meant by making some modelling decisions about adding in features to hide seams, so we can break up our islands into smaller islands to make the most of a UV space. So when we come back, we'll have a go at that. So I'll talk to you then. Okay, so to make the most of these, I need to sort of delete parts of it out, because, you know, there are things here that I can cut into two, but I want to hide something. I want to hide that seam, and the reason I want to hide it is because if somebody's texturing this, you know, they may be using a 2D program, and that's going to make it really difficult for them to line up boards and make it look as they want it. So hiding seams can help with that. So first of all, I can split this one in two, so let's do that, and similarly on the back, and we'll split that one as well, and then I'll right click and mark those as seams. Then I'll need something in here to actually cut down there, so let me Alt H to make sure I get it right, and then we'll use the cut tool to cut down here. And it looks like I've got like a stray vertex or something not letting me do that, so let me select my boards again, select and then Shift H, and let's have a look. So yeah, I've got a couple of vertices in there. I think they appeared when I did some editing earlier, unfortunately. So let's see what we can do with these. So those need to go. I don't know quite how I've got so many. Right, it's easier at this point in time to not try and really figure it out. It's simply to delete what's there. So let's go into poly mode or face mode. It helps if I'm not in a cut tool. There we go. I'll delete those out completely. Actually, I'll do the bottom one as well. Just delete them. Faces. See, I've got some odd kind of edges up here which are, you know, interfering now, and if I try and select one of those, I'll probably see they're divided into different bits. So let's select those and delete, and in this case we want edges. Similarly at the bottom, look, oh, made a right mess of this. It can happen, you know. Let's delete those out. Where's delete gone? I'm not pressing the delete button, so deleting the edges. There we go. So now if I select here and here, and whoops, no, let's do it one at a time. Let's go to modeling, edge and bridge. There we go. It should bridge over quite nicely. Select those and select those. Oops, not that one. and bridge again. So edge and bridge edge loops. There we go. Okay, so I'll probably need to unwrap that again. So A, unwrap. There we go. Now I'm not going to rearrange it all just yet. I'm going to go back to what I was talking about, which is hiding seams. So I'm going to put some seams in first. So let's cut down there, and that will neatly divide them into two. And all I need to do now is mark them as seams. So mark seam. Now if I unhide everything, so Alt and L, not Alt L, Alt and H, we'll see what we've got now. So first of all, I've got all sorts of things here, and I've already got a pillar here hiding that one seam, and that's great, but I don't have anything here. See this big red line going down the middle? That's the sort of thing I want to avoid. So I'm going to make a kind of feature of this and then copy it to the back. So if I select one of these polygons, and I'm just going to duplicate it with Shift D, and then right click to drop it where it stands. We'll press N to get our move menu up, and I'll set that X to 0 to put it in the middle, and then S and X to scale it inwards. Oops. And then I'm just going to move it outwards, so that will be G and Y, and then we'll grab that top edge and bring it below the window, so G and Z, and I'll bring that down a little bit. And this one I'm not going to put on the boards material, I'm going to put it on the wood material, so we'll assign that to wood, so it's like a different feature. Okay, so I need to do that on the back as well to hide that one, but on its own, yeah, perhaps on its own it would be alright. No, it wouldn't. I need all of this bits around it, so let's select a bit on each and then press Ctrl L, and then Shift and D, right click to drop it, R to rotate around Z, so press the Z key, and I want to rotate that 180 degrees. Now I want to move it to the back, so it's G and Y. Let's pop it in the back. There we go. And now we've hidden it. So now we go back to our boards, so we'll select those and press Shift and H in the 3D view. Everything seems to be marked as I want it to be, so A in the 3D view, A in the 2D view, right click and unwrap, and then we'll pack it, so UV and pack. There we go. Let's let it rotate, because it does a good job of at least getting them in the same direction. And then we'll rotate it around 90 degrees with Control, and then select the ones that are upside down, that one and that one, Control L, and we'll rotate these with the R key 180 degrees, and Control to constrain, then A, UV and pack without rotate. There we go. So we've got slightly more definition now. We've got slightly more, can I put it, UV space to work in, because we don't have those huge long islands. It's kind of working a little bit better, and we could do the same for these bottom ones, but just note that, you know, if you do that, you'll need to just model something in here to, you know, hide that island. So let's Alt H and have a look, and actually those ones under there are probably not going to be seen, so that's another thing we could think about. So if I click off to deselect and then select the boards again, oh my goodness, select the boards again, Shift H in the 3D view, and yeah, it's distinctly possible you just don't need this bottom bit at all. So let's Control L on that, A over here, and delete. Where's delete gone? I'm not looking for delete, am I? Looking for faces or edges. I'd rather do it with faces. Delete and faces. There we go. And yeah, I've even got some stray bits in here that I don't really want to have. So let's select over those in edge mode. Let's get to front. I'll be able to see it better. And I can select all of that then and delete it out. Edges. Get the side view and do the same in that direction. Edges, and so again in the side direction. I should have gone into X-row mode really, but I was being lazy and ended up doing more work, which is not unusual. Okay, so now if I select all of those and select all of those and repack, UV and pack, I get more space. So yeah, just trying to maximize the space I'm getting on this so I can get good detail out of it. So that's that. Next we'll go on to the stone and the wood. They should be pretty quick, and yeah, I'll talk to you then. Okay, so we've only really got the stone and the wood to do. So I'm going to go to back to my UV editor. I don't know why I'm not in there. I'll select the stone, and as you can see, I've kind of done it already. But let's just do that again. So over in the 2D view, I'll press A, unwrap, and then give it a pack. So UV and pack islands. There we go. And that's good enough for those. I don't need anything more than that. They're nice and big on the map, so they'll have good definition. And lastly, the wood. So deselect, select wood, select. I seem to have an issue here, so let's see if we can deal with that. So I'll press A over here, right click and unwrap. Just need an unwrap, that's fine. Let's have a look what's going on up there. What's this? Okay, so I'll press A, UV and pack. Where's pack gone? There it is. So I seem to have some kind of erroneous bits here. So I'm just going to try and find out what they are. I think they're under here. If I press Control Plus, I start to get these extra kind of bits. If I keep going Control Plus. Alright, let's hide everything else. So select the wood and Shift H. So where are those? Are they here? I'm trying to select more on the on this, in the 3D view with Control plus until I find the island that everything's attached to. It's not that one. Let's hide it. It's not that one. Let's hide that one. Is it this one? No. Well, it's got to be one of them. Having a look around, see if I can see anything kind of floating. I can't. See, these logs at the front, or these planks, they're not, I haven't defined them, so let's do those. So if I just pop a seam in, just cut the ends off rather, so Alt and click, and then Shift Alt and click there, and same at the other end. Oh, come on. Let me see it. Let me get close. There we go. I can right click and mark those as seams. So let's do an A, and unwrap. Now we're getting closer. I think it will be these horrible mushed up things here. So let's select one of these. Yes, it is. There we go. going to go Shift H. I'm going to hide the ends because I don't want what I'm going to do next to select anything over there. So I'm just going to X-ray mode so I can select those properly. And H. And now I'll mark a seam down the end of each. Come out of X-ray mode because it's a pain, and right click and mark seam, A and U, and unwrap. Now it's perfect. Right, so I need to unhide everything now. Select the wood, hide everything else with Shift H, select everything over here, right click, unwrap, and there we go, we've got our wood. It's worth noting here that some of these things are the wrong way around. Let's try a pack, and yeah, some of them are still the wrong way around, so we've got to grab these ones that are pointing in the wrong direction. Oops. There. And rotate them around manually. So Control L, R to rotate, Control to constrain, and then A, pack, but make sure rotate's turned off. Okay, so I mean that's essentially it now. You know, this will go off to the texture artist. The texture artist will take one look at my UVs and think, what's he thinking about, and he will divide it up more if he's going to do it. Or he may decide that actually I'm going to tile some of this, so actually it's okay as it is. But that will be their their call. I'm normally my texturer, so you know I texture it, I UV it how I would work, but you know not everybody works the same way as me, so you know we'll see. But I like to get it to a point where it's close at least. Okay, so let me unhide everything. So Alt H. Let's go back to the modelling room and have a look at what we've got. Yeah, so there we have it essentially. I hope you found that useful, and I will talk to you in another set.